The show is about to start. Thank you for your cooperation. Enjoy the show, and please come back and visit us again.
And all right, everybody, welcome to the 9 Years podcast. More upbeat start, a more upbeat intro than was originally planned this week. I'll explain why in a moment. I am Nick Draper. This is the 9 Years podcast. Stuart Deakins joins me as always. And Stu, yes, it was all going to be very down and angry and angsty and things are rubbish and we hate life and all that business. But you know what? I've gotten past the point of caring now. So let's just try and chill and relax and try and think about things other than Wimbledon, which is going to be hard when we do a weekly podcast talking about AFC Wimbledon and wrestling, apparently, even though we've not talked about wrestling for I don't know how long on this show. Maybe we should do that instead this week. It would certainly help. But yeah, I felt like I couldn't be bothered to go down that horrible route. I know we've lost again. It's 13 defeats in 15. We're all very down. It's horrible. It's not good times. Very, very sad times, but I can't be bothered to be all blooming down and that, you know, that noise, that exact sound, that sound you make when you get home after a home game and you've lost again and you get asked the question, how'd you get on today? And it's like conversations ended. Ask me no questions. So yeah, we're going to try and focus on other things. Do you know what's helped me? What's helped pick up my mood this week?
Go on.
Is my social media / smartphone sabbatical that I have been on. I'm not suspended, I'm on sabbatical. I've decided I've locked my phone away, or I have locked my phone. I've got it out now because I have to do it to record the podcast, but since 5-ish on Sunday evening, it's been locked in a drawer, and I've not looked at it. And you know what? It's the best thing ever.
I don't blame you. You did say you were going to do that, and I've done it at work, so I've literally ignored anything at work, so... Because, you know, I don't know about you, but sometimes it just can be so... You said it can be so time-consuming. And also, nothing changes. In terms of, you know, we go through a little bit about the betting on managers. And it's just soul-destroying, you know. We can't influence it. We can't change it. We're rubbish. We're bottom of the league near enough, apart from Bradford. Hallelujah to Bradford. But, yeah, I've done exactly the same thing, and I found it quite therapeutic. I don't know how long it's going to last, but, yeah, I've done the same thing.
Well, do you know what? I wondered about how long it would last, but I said I'd do it on Sunday evening, so I went out Sunday evening and I left my phone at home, and it stayed there. And then I went to work on Monday, and it stayed in my flat, and I thought, Tuesday I'll go back to normal. No, I left it at home again on Tuesday. And, yeah, I didn't miss it. When I came back to it, and I was on like, Twitter and reading through some of the stuff, I was thinking, I've got no interest anymore. I'm quite happy not to be spending 24/7 almost connected to the world in that way. Certainly not discussing Wimbledon at the moment because, as we said, it's very, very depressing. So I recommend everybody do this. I think you'd appreciate it. Your mental health will improve almost immediately, as I have found mine has this week, most definitely. What else has happened, or what else has helped, is my highlight of the week. So we've decided, haven't we, Stu? New feature on the show, non-football highlights of the last 7 days, because there's no... Well, the script, it says, because football is shit. Can't be any more blunt than that.
Which is very apt, yes.
So what's been your non-Wimbledon highlight of the week? Because I said non-football, but I'm thinking England actually beating Croatia. That was a highlight for me. I enjoyed that. But let's keep it to non-football things anyway.
Yeah, well, actually, I've got two, actually. There are two highlights, and one was last week. So one week, I'm not a massive on politics, but I do enjoy watching Question Time. And my highlight was just how obnoxious one of the female panelists was in terms of trying to tell Dave. Oh, I don't know, but basically David Dinwiddie tried to interrupt, and she basically went along the lines of, "I know you don't like ladies talking." I was just like, "Wow, love it! I love a feminist. I love that sort of thing." But yes, that was a highlight, and I suppose also I'm a Celebrities started, and let's be honest with you, the great thing about obviously Anne and Derek having problems is Holly Willoughby has joined the jungle. Sound is not needed.
Do you know what? I was looking. She was on something the other day, though, and I was thinking, She was no Alexa Bliss, I'll tell you that much. My highlight, you'll be unsurprised to hear, was wrestling related. Was Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles from SmackDown last week, which I watched on the weekend, and it was a very, very good match with a surprise ending, which I found very, very entertaining. I've realised that as much as people moan about us talking wrestling, we don't actually talk about wrestling, but I will now. If you were to offer me the choice between what's given me more entertainment or what's been better entertainment for me since August last year, then wrestling beats football hands down, or beats Wimbledon hands down. Wimbledon is so bad. It's so bad. It's so depressing. And do you know what? Social media hasn't helped. That's why I've been off it, because it's just constant misery and moaning and complaint. I know people have a go at us for that, but hey, we apologise. We realise it wears you down. We have to do a podcast every week. What do you want us to say? We won 8-0 every week, and just lie? Let's lie about it.
One of the funny things, and I'll mention him because he makes me chuckle, is that our good old friend, Yorkshire Womber one.
Good old friend, what's his name?
But because I'm not going to name him individually, but still moaning about Neil Hardy being in the job too long, and I'm just like, get over it. Do you know what I mean? He's gone. Yeah, I haven't got to moan that he stayed too long, but yeah, I think until we get a new manager in, I think we're gonna see the same people, not the same people, but people moaning and moaning and moaning. We need to have something fresh. Get a win, any win. I don't care. You know, these cups don't count. Any win, and just have some happiness.
We need to play that song by Pharrell that doesn't make any sense. We need a room without a roof.
Or the Morecambe and Wise, Bring Me Sunshine. That's what we should do.
Showing our respective ages there, Stu.
We should play. I'm going to speak to Mikey Z. We should play that when we come out. Bring Me Sunshine. That's all we need at lovely Kings Meadow, and we'll probably get a gust of wind, and it'll probably bring the old sewage smell flying over. Probably.
Talking about Liam Trotter there.
I just think something.
Oh, Liam Trotter. Right, so my miserable mood pretty much started on Sunday morning. This is when I knew I had to give up, was when I woke up on Sunday morning and I saw Snapchat or Instagram footage of Liam Trotter's face, which I just wanted to punch. I wanted to knock him the fuck out. That face is just... Can he please just fuck off now? Like, seriously.
It's so funny because for all the years I've known you, there's only a few... Actually, I can't think of a player that's actually rattled your cage as much as Mr. Trotter.
It's been winding me up for a long time, but that footage of him, which we believe, right, so this was apparently Callum Kennedy's birthday party, which happened on the weekend.
Yeah.
This is what we believe it was. And it was Callum has done Trotter no favours here. And I know he said this before for podcast. Do you know what? We wouldn't say anything about players that we wouldn't say to their faces and what have you. Okay, scrap that for Trotter, because I don't even want to look at him. I don't want to be in the same room as him. I'm considering whether I want to go on Saturday, not just because of him, because of generally, but I just... Do you know what? How much money does he get paid, and what does he get paid to do? What is he actually doing? If he gets thousands of pounds a week to do what?
Allegedly, yeah.
To do, he's clearly getting 4 figures a week, isn't he?
Yeah.
What does he do?
Well, he saves his energy to go and dance around nightclubs, doesn't he? I've heard that was actually a weekend before last. Let's be honest with you, it makes no difference because we've lost most weekends. So even if, I suppose it comes, the problem you got is, you know, social media is great and stuff like that. And I said to you last year, I think, social media is great. When you won a game, so last year we'd have Barry Fuller on Twitter going, we're on fire with all the flames and all that sort of stuff. But the moment you lose, social media becomes an absolute nightmare for players. So really, yeah, Callum's done him absolutely no favours whatsoever. But it's really funny. It just rattled people's cages. Do you know what? It didn't really rattle my cage too much because I understand they've got to go out and enjoy themselves.
Do you know what? It wasn't so much
it was
him.
just that bad dance routine.
It wasn't so much they were out. I didn't actually care about that. I don't care about that at all. It was purely his face and the look on his face that wound me up. I was like, no, I can't take it anymore. Get out of my club. And it is my club. It's our club. We own this club. We made this club. You're just here for a little while, and somehow we're paying you 4-figure sum a week to be here. You can leave now. Go away.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's really, because I was thinking about it the other day, and I was thinking, early in the season, you would never sing Trotter's praises. But actually, he was playing all right. You know, the early form against Fleetwood and Coventry and Sunderland. And then all of a sudden, he is just like, you know, I don't know, he's taken on the boo boy of George Frankham to the power of 10. Now everyone is literally calling him out. But hey, look, there's a lot of bad players in our team. But yeah, he's a vice captain, so he's got to stand up along with Deji, and they're not.
No, nobody is, unfortunately. Maybe a new manager will get something out of them that Neil couldn't, and what have you. Where do we stand with new manager at the moment? Right, so when I was writing down the script for today, the bookies' favourites at the time of going to press, I suppose, were Wally Downs. Should we stop it there? Because I think that's your answer.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, also, do you know what? Tell me if I'm putting 2 and 2 together and making 5 here. But see, if Wally Downs does get the job, hey, look, I'll give him a chance. I do give everybody a chance. I will give Liam Trotter a chance on Saturday if he's starting. I promise you I will. Some of this is for comic and artistic effect, of course. However, I'm a little bit uncomfortable with this Wally Downs thing because, like I said last week, so we went from, like I said, Week 1, Eric said, we're not going to sack Neil. Week 2, Neil said, I'm not going to quit. And Week 3, he's gone by mutual consent, right? So something's happened there. Something's not adding up in my brain. Now, then there's this thing about Neil perhaps looking at constructive dismissal, which, again, we don't know if it's reading something on that, but it's a strange thing to have appeared, isn't it? Let's be honest. And then there's rumours that Neil perhaps got wind that something behind the scenes was happening, even though he was still manager, and he wasn't happy with it, and that's why he then went to the board and said, look, if this is the case, then let's part ways now. It seems that Wally Downs is being championed by one Mr. Dave Bassett. Have I got this correct? This is the rumour that we've been told.
Let's now Neil Ardley's left, we can probably now, you and I heard from people I do respect that Harry Bassett had been at probably the last 4 or 5 games in the President's Lounge and hadn't really made it too secretive that he thought Wally Downs would be the perfect replacement. By all accounts, wasn't, he wasn't pleased with what he was seeing from Neil Ardley. Hey, look, Harry Bassett was the one that was involved in a selection process. Not alone, but involved in a selection process, and 6 years down the line, it wasn't his choice anymore. But yeah, Wally Downs' name has been 4 or 5 weeks I've heard it. So you have to, if Harry Bassett is involved in the recruitment process, and we have no reason to believe he isn't, because he was involved last time, so I don't see why I wouldn't involve him again, even though the club haven't come out and officially told us who is, if we do have a non-football club board representative selecting. The fact that he was favourite so early on, literally from, I think, as the moment the actual betting went, I think he was favourite, if I remember properly. He stayed favourite the whole way through. I don't think there's a lot of money in this market. I don't think it's like, it's not like a Premiership market where there's probably, tens of thousands of pounds money banked on it, but I think there's enough. But he hasn't moved. And I think now I'll be amazed if he doesn't get a job.
But that's why I'm uncomfortable.
Because it's a pre and all. Hey, look, the constructive dismissal, I think, I don't see why a paper would launch. I don't see, was it the Mirror or the Sun, was it? The Mirror. I don't see why the Mirror would say something without any foundation, or it's quite a weird thing to say that he's, Neil Ardley's not going to apply for any jobs due to look at compensation. And we know that if managers are looking at compensation, then they don't get another job until that is secured. Yes, there was rumours around. It seems very weird that Neil Ardley has. Why would you sack him after a win? Why would he resign after 2? Why would he resign after 2 wins? If you look at all the interviews that he'd done, he would have taken that as some small margin of getting back to normal. And yes, there is a rumour around saying that he got wind and decided to resign. And if he resigned, he can probably claim constructive dismissal, and that will come out in a wash if that's the truth. When we don't know, that's allegedly what's been going on.
So when Wally Downs gets the job, what do you think? Is he the man for you?
Do you know what? Obviously, because Wally Downs...
Sorry. We all know that Lyle Taylor is the man for you, of course. But in the...
Lyle's still playing, so I don't think Lyle can come and be a first-team coach just yet, but there's always room for that in the future, Lyle. Hey, look, I've looked in. Wally Downs is not someone that we don't know anything about. We all knew that he was at Reading. We all knew he was under Allardyce at West Ham as defensive coach. His whole career basically has been based on his non-playing career has all been based on either assistant manager or coach. I don't doubt for 1 minute that he is probably one of the best coaches we could probably attract. We've got to look at somebody who's got Premiership experience. It's just the manager side that sort of worries me a little bit. His only spell he had as manager was at Brentford, lasted a couple of years. If you look at his whole career, basically, he's a shadow for Steve Coppell. Wherever Steve Coppell goes, he goes. To the extent that, I looked at it, so he was under Coppell. This is one thing I don't know if you noticed this, but he had four. The reason he retired was because he had 4 separate broken legs. How should I say it? 4 separate. He basically broke his leg 4 times.
How does that even work?
He broke his leg 4 times,
right.
basically.
So he had 4. He had 4 different leg breaks.
Legs?
He didn't have 4 broken legs.
Because that would be impossible. Because yes,
he would be something else.
But yeah, so he broke his leg 4 times. Where you think, wow, so he obviously got some sort of character to come back from that. For 1 broken leg, back in, you think about when he played in a time when actually technology and that sort of stuff wasn't exactly top notch. But so spent 12 years under Palace under Coppell, then went to go to Brentford under the. How can we forget Ron Nodes when he thought he was better than a chairman? He thought he'd be a manager.
Brentford were a basket case for a long time.
Yeah,
weren't they?
but then Ray Lewington and Coppell come in. He was assistant manager underneath them. Then Coppell got sacked. Went to Reading under a Coppell again. Then had a separate, went to Southampton in League One under Adam Pardew. Then Pardew got dismissed. He then went to West Ham under Avram Grant, was defensive coach for Avram Grant and Allardyce. And then most recently, he's been in India in their Super League. So last year he was at Jamshedpur, I think that's how you put it. And guess who? Mr. Coppell. And he's at 80k. This will be interesting. I was looking at 80k in terms of where they play in the Salt Lake Stadium, an 85,500 capacity. So I suppose the reason I'm bringing up Coppell is because Coppell's now 63, looks very good for 63. But if Wally Downs is coming, is he basically just going to be the same old partnership with Coppell being manager and Wally Downs being coach, or is Wally Downs becoming a manager? Who does he bring as his number 2? So is that going to be something maybe that we instigate? So chucking names out there. Mark Robinson is down at the moment, I believe, 18-1. So we understand that Mark Robinson has applied for the role. So would Wally Downs come in with his own management teams? If you remember properly, when the last interviews were done, the second interviews were done with the assistant manager coming along to interview, and obviously Neil Cox.
Yes. Yeah.
So is it a case he's coming on his own to then maybe work with a young up-and-coming coach? So look, Jason Ewell, there's loads of names out there. Mark Robinson would be, I think, for me personally, I think Mark Robinson wouldn't be my choice as being the first team manager, but I do believe he's done enough in the academy to get a promotion into the first team under that. Does Adam Reeves come in as an assistant manager and stuff? So there's so many questions on there, but I think I think if Wally Downs doesn't get the job, then something's gone seriously wrong.
Who are these other people then that are in the frame? So Neil Banfield.
Yes, Neil Banfield's
Lee Clark.
He's coming out of nowhere, isn't he? And of course, the leaks are coming out because naturally the club can't control all the leaks, so they probably are controlling all the leaks coming out internally. I mean, don't think there's much coming out internally, but externally, of course, agents and that are going to talk, aren't they? So we understand as of Tuesday that Mark Bircham and Neil Banfield were interviewed in a secret London hotel, which is being classed as it could either be a posh hotel or Premier Inn on the old Kent Road, but
or a travel tavern.
Yeah. So stuff's coming out, and I imagine by the time we launch our podcast on Thursday, there'll be other rumours coming out. But yeah, so at the moment, if you look at Simon Bassey, I looked at Sky Bet at the moment. So Wally Downs is 7-4 on Sky Bet. Of course, other good bookies are available. Neil Banfield is 7-1. Simon Bassey is 7-1. Kevin Nolan 8-1. Don't see how Kevin Nolan gets anywhere near, unless he can, rewind the clock about 5 or 6 years. We've got our midfield scoring sensation, then, haven't we? Alan Pardew, 16-1.
I will not go. I will not go.
You're strong about this as you're about Liam Trotter, aren't you?
No, because I still go with Liam Trotter in the team. If Alan Pardew is manager, I will not go.
But that dance, though, could you imagine every time we scored a goal, he had his own little celebratory dance?
Did I discuss this with you on the podcast last week about his dance?
You did.
Oh, my God. I'm not doing it again. I can't go back to that.
Funny thing is I've had so many people send me, obviously, the gif of that dance. I think it's great. I can't stop laughing to myself.
That's another reason why I've stayed off social media, and why I'm happier for it.
But the information I have is that Alan Pardew was 66-1. I think there was quite a lot of money that went on him because his name was mentioned within that he was being interviewed. My understanding is he's actually involved in the selection process, not applied, but that's not confirmed.
I can live with that, but you know what? I cannot think of two men. I would never put Alan Pardew and Eric Samuelson together. I can't see. Do you know what I mean? Like, they strike me as almost polar opposites.
Well, the only reason I think Wally Downs could talk himself out of this job is his relationship with Eric. So I must admit, I'll be honest with you, I'm not one to hover around the President's Lounge. So I've not seen Wally Downs in the
not
President's
since Lars
Lounge.
left, anyway.
I've not been around the President's Lounge, so I've never seen if Eric and Wally are seen in the same building together, or if they communicate or anything like that. I don't know. But you have to say, if you look at Wally Downs' Twitter account, he don't hold back. He's a keen Brexiteer, so that'd be funny amongst other friends that I've got. But he says what he thinks. The problem with Wally Downs, and I've got, again, a few people I'm chatting to who really want Wally Downs to be manager. And the thing I hear the most is that he won't take any rubbish off this group of players, and they're given what's for. But if that's the reason we are going to bring somebody in, then I just feel that's not the correct. If we bring him in because he's the most respected coach, and I can live with that, because I think you can't argue with his coaching pedigree. But if we're thinking because he's ex-Crazy Gang and he's going to come in and tell Liam Trotter to run around the field 5,000 times or go and dance for an hour non-stop, I just think those days have gone. As much as we feel these players have let Neil Ardie down and let us down as fans, if he's coming in, if we are just getting a manager just because we want them to be the most horrible person in the world, then that's the wrong reason. But equally, we have to remember that we have a club that doesn't like challenging a referee for a decision. There's a rumoured code of conduct that you don't speak to referees. Well, Wally Downs will be the first person. Wally Downs might as well pay his fines monthly by direct debit because he's no shrinking violet. That's the only thing I can see the job not being offered to him, because Eric will not be able to manage him, would be my word.
I get that. I wonder, though, is that's the suggestion then that Eric's got, I say Eric, of course, with the football club board, have got this exact picture in mind of who they want for this job. And as you rightly say there, somebody that's going to perhaps be a little bit more volatile would not perhaps fit with the image that the club has sort of moulded for itself. But do we really know what we want from this appointment? Are we just looking for somebody who's going to, in the short term, keep us up? Or are we looking further afield? We've, in the past, haven't we struggled with contracts with players and things, because we've said, well, we can't really work on contracts without knowing what division we're going to be in. We've had that problem. Did that not work the same in this exact situation that we're in now? We don't know whether we're short-term, long-term. Does anyone know?
It's a fair question, because, nothing's come out. It's mutual consent is what's come out about Neil Ardie. But, if he was sacked, then was he sacked for what reason? So what do we not like out of that? So have we done an analysis of actually what Neil Ardie offered us, and maybe what the reason why we sacked him, if that's what's happened? Because if we're just looking for a Neil Ardie Mark II, but just someone who's a bit younger and has not got unfortunately, the damage that was done to Neil Ardie in terms of his health and and what he went through this season in terms of the run of defeats, we need to look at what we want. So if we want someone to come in, the job advert was so basically the job advert attracted everybody, including ones that love Football Manager on the PC. It didn't really pinpoint really experience, sort of, that sort of comes with a territory, doesn't it? But I don't know if we know what we want. I worry sometimes. I think it's something you said, and it's really sort of struck with me recently, is that we gave Joe Pigott a 2.5-year contract the week before our manager left. Who's done that deal? You'd hope Neil Ardie done that deal. So was it a case he just walked? Was it a case of that? But do we want a coach? Do we want if you want a coach, something in the array of Neil Ardie, but someone more experienced, then of course Neil Banfield's your man, because he's, I think, 20 odd years of coaching, 6 years under Arsene Wenger in a first team capacity. He's your man. I just don't think we know what we want.
Tell you what I've been looking for is, and a big thank you to Matthew at @ma_Chewbacca on Twitter, because I've been looking at Neil Banfield's name and I've been going Art Attack. And I know it's not right. I couldn't think of his name. So I've asked on Twitter who presented Art Attack, and Matthew has come to our rescue. Neil Buchanan, of course. Oh, breathe a sigh of relief, because that was driving me insane. Matt McGuinness has just tweeted in this very moment to say exactly the same thing. Thank you two for helping us out with that. Neil Bamford, we said, not managed before. Like you said before, Wally Downs. Not managed, left Brentford in 2004. And do you know what, with the pair of them, and you could argue this was the case for Neil Ardley as well, although he did get in a few or a lot of players that he'd worked with at academy level. Downs and Bamford have been working at a much higher level than we're at. Do you think they'd have a period of struggling with this group of players in terms of the quality, ignoring all the other faults?
Well, that's actually true. You have to we hear that Neil Cox on record going that this group of players had to be micromanaged in terms of telling them where to be, where not to be. The goals of Doncaster tell you enough to realise that probably was not far from the truth, because the goals of Doncaster were very much tactically spot on. But the moment they had to think outside of the tactic, in terms of the moment they had to think outside of the shape, that the same mistakes happened, which suggests to you that actually does coaching work? Are they good enough? So if you think you've got a great set of players, and reportedly this is the best group of players we've ever had, reportedly I say.
Sorry.
But if we're saying that, then what we're saying is actually we need a coach, because the set of players there are already good enough. It's just that for whatever reason, tactically or in terms of setting the shape of play up, it was good enough. So that's the case, then bring a coach in, and then Banfield was your man. But actually, if it's a case where maybe we need to recruit and we need to get rid of a lot of players, then Wally Downs is your man, because I can't believe that he's worked. If anyone Steve Coppell, so Coppell's got a great network under Pardew, under Allardyce, under Avram Grant. I would believe he would have enough contacts to be able to use that to get players in that maybe we wouldn't have attracted or even had a chance to get under Neil Ardley. So I just think the names that I'm seeing that we report, we were rumoured to have applied for the job, Wally Downs is the best out of the ones, in my opinion, that have applied. I would love it if Ian Holloway's applied or Jason Newell, that sort of combination, but he didn't seem he was a bit cautious, wasn't he, on Quest this week when asked a question. He didn't necessarily count himself out, but he didn't look like he exactly was in the running, but then he wouldn't, because he's on a TV programme and it's probably not his place to say what he thinks.
No, it's not the time or the place, is it?
It's not. But hey, look, I don't know. I just think, do you know what? It's just when was Neil Ardley? When did the mutual consent? It was last Monday, wasn't it? So we're coming up now to just over a week. Feels a lot longer. I think really, I think they said that the second interviews have been done on Friday, I believe. So are we hoping that we make a decision on Saturday, or are we going to think about it over the weekend and announce it on Monday? I just want it decided, if I'm being truthful. You'd have to think, if the second interviews are being done on Friday, you'd have to think on Saturday that the potential new managers, or the ones that got on the shortlist, will be in the stands. I'm going to have a good look around and see who's got the best disguise. It's not a big ground, so you're fine. If Wally Downs is on that shortlist, you will find Wally Downs on Saturday. So let's hope it's announced and done by the weekend.
Half an hour into the show, we've not touched on the actual game last Saturday. And
there was a game?
Things that came. Unfortunately, Stu, yes, there was a game away at Doncaster, second consecutive league game that we have lost 2-1, having been 1-0 up. More evidence.
Yeah.
No, go on.
Just very quickly, I was just going to say, I don't know how I was hoping to watch the game on iFollow, but thankfully they didn't seem to understand the new rule on international fixtures, and it saved me £10. But how did you watch it? I watched it on the old Soccer Saturday way.
Stu, I watched wrestling.
Did you really?
I did not. Yeah, I watched wrestling. And you know what? When it came to the wrestling, finished about 20-5, and then I turned on. So I saw the last however long it was. We were late because of the drone incident and what have you. So
yes.
Second half was delayed kicking off because of a drone being flown overhead. So we finished quite late. And so I did see the ending bit with Matt Murray, which I'll mention actually. But no, during the game, I was watching wrestling. I had no interest.
I watched it via Soccer Saturday, and I have to say, this is how. I don't know if complacent's the right word or disinterested, but we scored the goal, and all I thought to myself was, "Oh, that's going to upset them." Not for 1 minute did I think, "Oh, we can hold on to this," and that summed it up, didn't it?
Well, this is it. It's another goal because obviously I got the message through that we'd scored, and it was another goal where I didn't celebrate.
Yeah, me neither.
I just didn't think much of it, which is another thing we might bring up actually.
Another one, yeah.
Oh, because I moaned about this the other week, and people, if you think I'm picking hairs or splitting hairs, whatever the saying is.
Splitting hairs, I believe.
Splitting hairs. Well, you'd be the man to ask about that. It's the celebration. So Pinnock runs away, and he starts celebrating in front of the Doncaster fans, and he almost starts taunting them. I'm like, what are you doing? We are a team that have lost 7 consecutive league games. You have put us 1-0 up in, what was it, in the first half an hour. If you're going to do that, and you're going to celebrate, and every player ran over to celebrate as well, by the way, and it was a bit of a show-off celebration. If you're going to do that, do it when you're 3-0 up with 10 minutes to go. Don't do it 1-0 up then. It's all about mentality for me, and it's all wrong.
Yeah, this is a very much a mixed bag on social media. I think we did raise it, didn't we? And some people have gone, and do you know what? You can get to a stage sometime where you may be thinking, oh, is everyone just overanalyzing things and being picky or stuff? But I tend to agree with you. The way I look at it is that the mentality is shown for a whole 90 minutes. So I can understand this attitude of, we're all together, we're all working hard, and we saw after the celebrations for the Shrewsbury goal when they all went over to Neil Harding and gave a high five. I said at the time, that's all great, but actually when excuse my French, shit hits the fan, and when you're under pressure in the second half, are you going to stand up and be counted? And we didn't. So again, I liken the celebration. It was a bit of a show-offy celebration. I would rather them just, I'm not saying we go back to the old days where we just shake each other's hands and we go back to halfway. I'm not saying you should do that, but actually, if you're going to celebrate at 90 minutes when you've got the points. And the strength of the squad is actually how, when the tough gets going, how much they really stick together. And I think we've seen that that's still a weakness of this team at the moment.
It's desire. That's the big problem for this team, evidenced by the 2 goals. First goal where no one takes charge of the situation, again, and we let them a free shot goal. Second goal, again, no one takes charge of the situation, and it's an awful goal. It's 2 great finishes. You can't dispute those.
Do you know what really annoys me about, if you look at both goals, and Mark Hendricks, bless him, he's done a great analysis on. I almost thought he was trying to get a job at Match of the Day, bless him, because he was Mark. He's done it spot on. I must admit, he's picked up Mitch Pinnock walking as if he's going back to the halfway line. I get that. That wasn't what I saw instantly. What I saw was Kwesi Appiah come out on a 3-on-1 overload on a free kick, and no one else come out with him. So surely, my opinion is, if Kwesi goes, he's a sitting duck. One, he's not quick enough to get around 3 players. So really, Deji or someone should be going, and someone else go out. But it showed to me what I thought. All week they've been concentrating on set plays. We've had Stephen Reed come in, who is, by all accounts, a really well-respected coach. Was at Palace before. I can imagine they've looked at the footage and gone, keep your line. What normally happens is there's an in-swinging ball. If we hold our line, no one should get behind him and Joe McDonald should be able to sweep up. But funny enough, Doncaster have got more than one tactic in their bag, and it just shows exactly what I mean, is that they have not got there's no leader in that team to go, if Kwesi goes, someone else goes. Kwesi should be calling, going, once they one more come out of me, it stops them then playing around him and do a 35-yard shot. And it's just, you can drill tactics. You can, I don't know if you've ever seen the footage of George Graham where he had the famous Arsenal back four literally within, I think they had string apparently, and they actually all moved together. They all moved side by side together, all put their arm up at the same time for offside together. And you basically it was so well drilled, you never beat them. But Doncaster proved straight away how much we rely on basically being told what to do. They have no leaders in that team to go, we've got to do something different.
Defensive shape is a good point, and I think it will link us back to what you were saying about Soccer Saturday, actually. Because after the game, they round up the games that the people in the studio are watching, and Matt Murray, former Wolves goalkeeper, wasn't he?
Yes,
he was asked, he said, what are the positives for Wimbledon? Or something along those lines. It was like, are there any positives for Wimbledon? And he couldn't stall any longer before he had something to say. But he mentioned the fact that when we didn't have the ball, he said we were very hard working in terms of getting back into shape. So our 2 banks of 4 or whatever it was at the time, I suppose it 2 banks of 4, it was 4-5-1, wasn't it? So, but he said we were very good at getting back into shape, which I thought was interesting. Because it showed, and he did sort of admit it a bit later on, I think, we've got no quality going forward, which is a bigger problem for us, especially as some of the statistics you've been looking at says it's all very well and good being able to get ourselves back into shape, but what does it matter if you then don't do some other basics involved in preventing goals, and we're not doing that at the moment.
It does, and all the things that showed it suggested to me we worked on a formation all week, we worked on a set style of play, we worked on doing set pieces. Because if Stephen Reed's coming in blind, the first thing he's going to look at, and Bassie's probably told already, is we are absolutely shocking at set pieces. So he's probably worked on restarts the whole week. I tell you what annoyed me: the winning goal from Doncaster annoyed me more than the first goal, and the reason for it is, one, we get done on a short free kick. That's criminal. The basics of the game is you stand in front of the ball. That's the basics of the game. Does that either shows a weak mentality or it shows a lack of fitness that we didn't get there. But I don't know about when you look at it back, and unfortunately I've watched it back about 3 or 4 times because I'm still amazed when I get looking at it. We had 2 people chasing and 2 people coming out. That late on, take a booking. That late on, just take a booking. Take the player out. Do not let him run. There were so players that could have swiped his ankles. I know other clubs would have just done it. They would have just taken the booking and gone, do you know what? That's a better way of doing it. But either we're naive, we're not fit enough, we're not smart enough. But it's just criminal to let it go. And that's why we keep losing games, because we just do not. I don't know what we do. We just no common sense at all. And it's not exactly we've got a midfield full of players that haven't played many league games in their career. That's the worry.
What did you make of the coverage then that you were watching on Soccer Saturday? What was the experience like?
It was Soccer Saturday. I just don't believe we can win a game. So it's quite funny because you can tell that the funny thing is the guys that are watching the games, you can tell don't really know League One too much or League Two because they're forever looking at their program to see. Matt Murray I quite like actually. He did say he was doing his coaching badges, which is I think the reason why he picked up on the shake, because that's what he's doing with his coaching badge at the moment, which is great. It's great that we're getting these ex-players that have retired early or for whatever reason doing their coaching badges, because the management game now is a young man's game really, in that sort of sense. But yeah, I'm getting used to watching Wimbledon on sort of TV in a way. Obviously, Haringey they're on, and somehow I don't know if Eric's got some shares in BT or something like that, but somehow we've managed to wrangle our way on to a second round game either away at Morecambe or Halifax. Why are we? Is it because it isn't even an upset? It's more of an upset if Morecambe or Halifax beat us. Oh, sorry, we beat them. Sorry.
I was going to say, I think it's a gamble in terms of they're hoping it's Halifax, because Halifax have had to reform in the same way that we did, and opposition. They were our first opposition, weren't they, back in '77 when we got promoted to the Football League? So there's lots of little things in there. But we do. It's amazing. I don't know one day I will do this because I keep threatening to. I think Oldham were on TV this year, actually, in the FA Cup. But it's been a long time since they have been. If you were to go through the Football League teams and think, how regularly have they been on TV over the last 10 years? It's not very, a lot of them barely any, if at all. But we get a game at least every year. It's quite bizarre. We're quite fortunate.
We're just a story, aren't we? We're a fan zone club who've done very well. We're just lucky. We're a story, and they love to go on about what we've done. And don't get me wrong, it's not as if it becomes blasé. But yeah, we have benefited. The great thing about it is that, this is also another question that we probably need to get an answer from, not us individually, but as fans, is what money does the new manager have when they come in? Because potentially there is an additional transfer kitty of probably close to 300k if you thinking about the West Ham money, the gate money, the TV money, the prize money. Let's not forget the Checker Trade Trophy. We've got money for qualifying for the later rounds. And I'm sure the boycott will do well when we play Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. That'll be an interesting one. That might test some people's boycotting on that one. But there's probably a potential of 300k available. Is the board going to release that money to a new? So that would tell you whether the new manager coming in is basically brought in to survive relegation, is whether how much money he gets of that 300k report. Around about 300k, I reckon it is.
How much of that pays off Liam Trotter's contract? Oh, we can dream. Please, I'll say a prayer. Of course, some of that money will have gone to doing. I'm so happy with this. So the club are going to do free coach travel to that FA Cup tie, be it Morecambe or Halifax Town. Can we have a round of applause?
I can't believe that they've actually. I just can't believe we can't have that suggestion because it's never been mentioned before, Nick. So it's great that they've come
Has
up
no
with
one
that.
mentioned it? Has no one come up with that idea before?
Can't believe anyone has done that.
Perhaps put that in the public domain somewhere, suggesting it would be a good idea. Well, hey, look, I'm just happy it's been done. So
It's a great move, and do you know what? In all seriousness, it'd be great if they did it for more than one game because I think the fans this year have travelled away from home. Getting married and having a child. I've not done many away games over the last couple of years, but for the last 20, I did.
You were trying not to.
I forgot what I had then.
I was going to say you were trying not to misgender your child by calling him your son.
Is he a baby, a son, a daughter? No, I don't.
Don't assume his gender identity, Stu. It's not fair.
But what I mean is, you and I, we've been going games for 20 odd years. I mean, away games. We know. Of course, not yourself, 20 years, 5-10 years. You're not that old to be doing many away games, but we know what it's like to go through a run of not winning. But this must be, if you're a fan that's done all away games, fair play. And I hope you enjoy the benefit of the free coach travel.
For a very, very early start, whether it be Morecambe or Halifax, 12:30 kickoff. So memories of Curzon Ashton will come flooding back. But hey, there was one other positive I wanted to touch on. We did score a goal against Doncaster. A very well taken goal in fairness to Mitch Pinnock. I know I've had a little moan about the celebration. It was a good goal. Do you know what I just wanted to point out? Do you see how that goal comes about? Which I think is brilliant.
Trotter comes off from midfield, doesn't he?
Trotter does nothing. Basically, what happens is it's like that Alicia Dixon song, "The Boy Does Nothing." That is Trotter's song. Oh, Mikey T, can we play that, please? When we do the team lineups. I'm going to play that at the end of this week's show, guaranteed. But no, what happens is we counterattack their counterattack, which I know sounds ridiculous, but we're actually bringing the ball forward, and that's why we've got 4 players in an advanced position. So when they win the ball back, and they're now looking to counter us, we get the ball back, and that's why we've got players so close together, so high up the pitch. It's not a tactic that we suddenly stumbled upon to get more numbers forward. It's just that circumstance helped us out on that occasion. Yeah,
and John Kwesi has a great role in it. Do you know what I mean? He picks the ball up from a pass from somebody we do not name. And literally I think the different thing with that was Kwesi had someone to pass to. So, when Kwesi drops deep and stuff, he doesn't have many options. But it was more noticeable that our sort of wingers or wide players were joining in a lot more. And in the end, Pinnock picks himself the ball up really central, does a great dummy and slots it in really well. Look, for the positives, we've got to score goals to win games. That's a common thing. So Pinnock's now has got back-to-back goals. That's great news. What I would say is we've probably got to score 2 goals a game to get anything at the moment because last the last 6 games we've conceded 2 goals or more. So we're going to have to score a lot more goals to get ourselves out of this trouble.
When you're in a run where you need to score twice just to get a point, we're in trouble. Do you notice how Bradford got a point at Peterborough? Do you think we get a point at Peterborough in 10 days' time?
No. Actually, you brought up a very good point there. Sorry to digress very quickly. I mean, it's not digressing, but I don't know if you noticed, Bradford picked up So we know we can't pick up any... we can't do any transfers, so we can't pick any players from other clubs. But you can pick up free contracts or players out of contract. They picked up Paul Caddis, who was at Birmingham.
Yeah.
Over 300 games in the Championship. He didn't have a club. I can't believe that. Got released by Birmingham. It's actually, no, I lie, not by Birmingham. Got released by Bolton. Didn't have a club. Was training with Tranmere, was training with Kilmarnock, and Bradford picked him up on a free contract. I just thought... I'm not saying that we need another, from Caddis is a midfield, defensive midfield. I'm not saying we need that, but it just shows you, teams around us, Bradford, are looking for other, players to come in very, very quickly. But by all accounts, Bradford should have got 3 points from that, and that would have left us rock bottom of the league. So thank you, Peterborough, for not doing that, although it's only a matter of time before we... But no matter of time before we become the strongest team in the league.
Yeah. And on that cheery note...
Yes.
Shall we move on?
Yes.
Should we talk about something else?
Football?
Yeah, let's talk about more football. I wanted to touch on the Don's Trust very quickly, because as we know, elections are still open.
Definitely.
I have not decided on my 4 yet. I still haven't. I have some thinking to do, but I have, as does everyone, until the end of November. So it closes actually before that, the day before that FA Cup second round game. Voting closes at 11:59 p.m. to get your 4 votes in for Don's Trust members. Please remember to vote. Please vote. 11 candidates, so a lot to choose from. Interviews are all still available on YouTube. Go to 9yrispodcast.org for the links to them. I noticed that we talked about Neil Ardley and the Monday, in which it was announced that he'd lost his job or we'd parted company with him. And there was also a Don's Trust board meeting on that Monday, the 12th of November. The brief notes from that meeting were released earlier this week. Just picked out some highlights, which I just thought were interesting talking points. First of all, Charles Williams, who was co-opted for youth engagement, that was his final meeting, actually, so he's stepping down from that role after 2 years. I'll come back to that in a minute, because it links in with the second point that stood out to me, was a discussion Cormac Vonderhoeven and Colin Dipple, some of the things they were talking about that they've been up to, including Cormac attending safeguarding meetings on behalf of the board, and Colin involved with Sustainable Merton, which is a campaign to remove plastic. These are time pressures. These are volunteers. So Charles has stepped down. He can't commit the time to it. Cormac and Colin, I don't know how they're finding the time to do this. It's a volunteer role that all the Don's Trust board are carrying out, and it is an enormous undertaking for them. Like, this is why I, hand on heart, would never do it, to be honest with you, because I couldn't commit the time to it. We had the week of when we did the YouTube broadcast with the live interviews, the preparation of those, the carrying out of those, the post-production on those, then doing a podcast at the end of it and all that. That was a long week, Stu. I was shattered by the end of all that. Yeah. I couldn't sustain that over 2 years, let alone however many years that some of the guys on there have been doing, like Nigel's been doing, Sean's been doing, what have you. Matt Breach has been doing. So, is it fair? Is it fair that we ask this of people?
No,
I mean, they're volunteering, so obviously they're happy to do it, and they love the club and they're passionate, and we thank them for it. But how sustainable is this? These are paid roles, I think, a lot of these people, the amount of time they give to this.
Yeah, and we've chatted about this before, haven't we? We try and look at it when we say that we're not too sure with people on the Don's Trust board, we're not going to name names, but we said about communication, and we've made comments sometimes that you hear once with every standing, you hear a lot about what they want to do, but we don't actually know if they have done what they promised in the previous manifesto. But then we actually have countered that and actually gone, how much time do they need to do all this stuff? There's a lot to do, and you're right. I get on very well with Jane Lonsdale, and I know the work she puts into it, but she has a full-time job, quite a decent full-time job. So, I suppose, do you have to I suppose Jane would be the first one to say, kids and stuff like that. It's a certain time in your life when you maybe have the time where, I know, yeah, you're right. Me at the moment, hey, look, it's something I would love to do in time is stand on Don's Trust board. But not while I've got a young family, because that's where I devote my time around, obviously doing what we do in a podcast and stuff like that. But I do think it's for a volunteer role. I think you're right. It has to be a paid role. And, Cormac and Colin, how are they going to find it? I think that's what we say is, how do you find a time over a consistent period? And it's one of the reasons why I sort of strongly believe that people should only be on the board for a certain amount of time, either 2 spells max, 4 years. Because I think by then, the stuff that they wanted to do, they've either done. If they haven't, there must be a reason why they haven't done it. And then try and get somebody else on there. But as volunteers, I think you're right. It's an almost impossible job, isn't it?
I think so. I mean, it's an interesting debate. We might say this another day, get more people involved in the conversation. I'm just chucking it out there. We spoke to, I interviewed Nigel Higgs for the YouTube hustings, basically the Kansas interview, and we talked about membership numbers and the money that's raised from it. And there's enough money there. If you wanted to say, let's take that money, so from membership fees alone, if you wanted to take that money away from perhaps playing budget and invest in 1 or 2 full-time employed Don's Trust board members, I don't know. Is that pie in the sky talk? It's certainly something we could perhaps discuss in more depth another time. But
I'd probably say the argument of that is that you have to. What would the salary be? So, for argument's sake, to get the stuff, and I know we try and say that it shouldn't be about how much. It shouldn't be always about the skill set that the individual person standing for the Don's Trust board is, or their experience, or what job are they involved in, or what capacity. But you have to wonder sometimes whether the salary we could either offer would be enough to even tempt them to go on it. Because if it was a full-time role, it means that that's their job. So you have to wonder sometimes whether you could even offer a competitive enough salary to get the people in to do the job you need.
It's an idea that we can perhaps revisit.
Definitely.
That's it, pretty much. That's all I've got to say about that. No, there is something else about the Don's Trust. I do have to mention this, though, however. I wasn't sure what to make of this in the sort of draft minutes of this meeting. Obviously, there was a lot about the manager and stuff like that. I didn't go into great depth about that for obvious reasons. But it said, the Don's Trust board noted with concern abusive language and behaviour towards players and management team from a certain number of fans stood behind the goal at the FA Cup match against Haringey. And the board would like to thank fans who were prepared to calmly and peacefully call out such abusive behaviour and language and what have you. I don't know where I stand on this, to be honest with you, because nobody likes to see players get yelled at and abused and what have you. Of course they don't, but I don't like the idea we're hinting at a bit of almost thought police-ish type behaviour. Like, yeah. For a start, I've got to be honest with you. So I wasn't behind the goal. So people tell me about songs that were sung that I didn't hear. I was down the side, but if I couldn't hear them, I wasn't at the other end of Wembley. I was, 50 yards away, and I couldn't hear it. So I don't know how bad it actually was, to be honest with you. Obviously, it will sound worse if you're in amongst it. Of course it will do. But it didn't really carry over. To me, I wouldn't have known there was any issue, to be honest with you. I heard one chant the loudest chant I heard was, "You're not fit to wear the shirt." I mean, that's not particularly abusive. It's not something I do, but it's not particularly abusive. So, yeah, I'm not sure if you want to go down this road. I think there's, if people cross a line with their behaviour at football, then they will be dealt with by stewards and the police and the club at a later date. I don't think we should be. I don't know where that line is. I think people can say it. If people want to say it, then people can say it. And if they cross a line into something that's, I don't know, not that this didn't happen, of course it didn't, but when it comes to freedom of speech, basically, and these sorts of things, I kind of think if you're not strolling down racist, homophobic language, those types of things,
yeah.
Then if you then step over a line, then you have to deal with the consequences yourself. It's not for other people to censor you, as it were. Am I being too sensitive? Am I being oversensitive?
No, it's something I think it's dangerous I think it's dangerous for the Don's Trust board to get into this certain area. I understand why. I've said to you, we've said before, we've never gone through a run like this. We've never gone through, even back to Terry Brown days. He jumped a lot earlier than this, and Terry never got the I won't say abuse, but not to go on about Neil Hardy things so long, but there's a strong feeling that the football club board didn't act quick enough for the run that we were going on. So the fans have naturally become frustrated. And you're right. Should we be thanking fans who called out such aggressive behaviour? Is that so? Are we expecting fans to police fans? That's dangerous. I just think abusive language. So are we going to write to other clubs about their fact? Because we're no string of violence. We abuse opposing players. We had a certain club in Buckinghamshire come down, and we made no problem about. I just don't see why you get involved in that. Let the if you're doing what if you're going against the ground regulations, as you just said before, then yes, the stewards and deal with you. But if we're getting the Dons Trust board talking about calling out behaviours and stuff like that, then where does it end? I don't understand why we've done that. I really don't.
No, and again, that's probably all we have to say on that for the time being. But I'd be interested in getting, as we always are, in people's views on that one. We might put a thread on the Facebook page about that, actually, to see what people think about that and where they stand on these sorts of things. We hear that players were getting a lot of grief against Doncaster. People weren't happy with this. There's this line now that's starting to crawl up about supporting the team versus what have you. It's a debate you can have. It's there for discussion, isn't it? If you want to go, I'm not going to tell anyone. If you want to go and sing "You're Not Fit to Wear the Shirt of the Players," then that's your choice. You go and do that. I'm not going to stop you, but I might not choose to do it myself.
If we've got people travelling, Doncaster's probably a good 300 or 400 mile round trip, easily, isn't it? I would have thought.
I will find out for you whilst you say this.
I think it is. And like I say, I'm not. If you're going to travel that far, then really you've got a right to be annoyed if your team hasn't, in your opinion, turned up or done what It's not a cheap. This is not a cheap sport. I think Doncaster was in excess of probably £20 a ticket. By the time you work out travel, by the time you work out food, etc., you're probably looking at an easy £100. So I don't think I have an issue with people basically saying whatever they want to say. Me personally, at home games, if I felt they haven't performed in a way that I think a women's team should perform, or so, I just don't clap them. Hey, look.
Yeah, that's basically what I do.
I don't clap them. It's like a silent protest. They probably can't hear that silent protest, but it's my silent protest.
They probably can't hear a silent protest. Of all the things you have said, including throwing the garden sink at them.
I quite like that.
That's winner. That is the best one ever.
But what I mean is my protest. And that's how I do it. I'm too old to boo. It's not a pantomime, is it? Do you know what I mean? It's not like who's behind you and that rubbish. Although we're coming into pantomime season, so you never know. We might add that at Kings Meadow. But the thing is, there's still a feeling amongst some fans that Nilwani was unfairly treated. And don't think, so I don't. It's a very emotive subject, and I think we need the new manager to come in to get away from this fact of. I can't put it. It's not mourning, is it? Do you know what I mean? But there are people that don't like the fact that Neil's gone. Because he was here for so long.
Yeah. Me.
For whatever you think about it, but I think look, we had some footage that we released on our social media on Twitter on Saturday evening, and it wasn't really pleasant to listen to. But would I have a go at the people booing and no, because they've spent their whole day and hard-earned money travelling to watch that team. And you know what? You pay your money, you do it. You can do it as long as it's, like I said before, as long as it's within the ground regulations. And from what I heard, it was.
Quick maths tells me 354.2 miles from Wimbledon to Doncaster.
That's a long day.
It is a very long day.
And from what I hear also on the train, they had to sit on the floor as well on the way back. There was all sorts of problems. So that were a major day for any better either.
Yeah, not a great day all round, really, was it? That's why I say. That's why I've stayed away from it all for a couple of days, and I feel great, so much happier. And then we start talking about it again. Never mind. Right, we don't have a manager in place as yet, clearly, because we spent so much time talking about it. So it's time this week for the return of Neil or No Neil.
Lovely.
With a slight twist, because last week I said you had to get a minimum of 9 of all these things, but unfortunately...
I failed at 1.
There was only 8 answers to this week's question. So if You're going to have to try and get them all, Stu. You have to try and get all 8. If you get all 8 answers to this question, then I'll buy your programme on Saturday.
Cool. I think your money's safe.
I don't know, actually. There's a chance you'll get this.
Oh, thanks.
So Neil Ardley's time of manager of AFC Wimbledon, he won 8 FA Cup ties. No, I tell a lie. He won 8 cup games in the FA Cup and the League Cup. Can you name me all 8 victories?
Oh, okay. So let's go. Oh, crikey. Let's go back. Because I was thinking this week, so League Cup. Who we beat the first? We beat the first round of League. Oh, do you know what? It's only a few wins. I think I've forgotten already the first League Cup win. So
can I say before you say anything?
Yes.
If you give me an incorrect answer, that's it. It's game over. As soon as you give me one incorrect answer.
So Pompey.
Correct.
Curzon Ashton.
Correct.
League Cup. We've only done one League Cup. FA Cup before then. Wickham.
Mm-hmm.
Crikey, let's think about this. League Cup, FA Cup. Who do we beat on the way to FA Cup? Scunthorpe.
I'm very sorry, Stu. That is incorrect.
In the FA Cup?
Scunthorpe was an FA Cup victory, but it was under Terry Brown, not Neil Ardley.
Was it really?
It was indeed. It was in our first season as a Football League team.
I was supposed to say I was there. I can't believe it was. I can't believe it was that long ago.
Yeah, 2011 it was.
We drew 0-0 at home and then won 1-0 in a replay.
Yep.
Ah, I don't think I'd have got the others. I was struggling.
Do you want me to read you off the list of the others?
Yes, please.
Did you have any others that you sort of had in mind?
No, I was literally thinking about it as I went through, so I wasn't confident on this one.
Right. Well, last season in the FA Cup, en route to the third round away at Spurs, we beat Lincoln City and Charlton Athletic. Before Curzon Ashton, we knocked out Bury in a replay. We spanked them 5-0. And then Neil Ardley's first 2 wins in the FA Cup as a manager were separated. They were 2 seasons apart, and they were against the same team, which was bizarre.
York?
It was indeed, yeah.
Damn, I was there for that as well.
I think you were there for all of those, to be honest with you. Except maybe Portsmouth in the League Cup, I don't think you were. But apart from that, yeah.
Wasn't York replay at home Cup game Stratton? Or was that Terry Brown, though? That would have been Terry Brown, wouldn't it?
No, you're right. York City was both were replays, having drawn away at York. First one was extra time, Charlie Stratton scoring goals. Yeah. And then the prize was Milton Keynes away.
Yes.
And then the second time we won 3-1 when their goalkeeper came up for a corner.
Mr. Bullman played to Tubbs, didn't he?
And Tubbs went and scored into an empty net, yeah.
Yeah. Crikey. Good question. I like that.
We might have actually stumbled on a better game.
I can't believe the Scunthorpe game. I'm amazed that was under Terry Brown. That feels like it wasn't that long ago.
Scary how times fly.
Isn't it?
Or time flies. Mm.
Yes. Yeah. The reason I remember Scunthorpe away, because I got really rattled by one of their stewards who was so condescending, I couldn't believe it. Basically, got there, went, oh, yeah, it's a lovely ground here. It's probably better than what you're used to. I was like, get over yourself.
Blimey.
Seriously, I was like gobsmacked thinking, this ain't that's great. And if you see where you live, I can't wait to see the road out. But anyway.
Did you say to him, we just got promoted at City of Manchester Stadium, mate?
Although what I did like, a lovely pub outside the away bit at Scunthorpe and a drive-through KFC.
All comes down to catering, doesn't it?
It was. And the reason I remember that is because actually we didn't leave straight away, and I remember the coach not going through the drive-through, but basically picking up their KFC as a welcome refueling fuel on the way back.
Refueling
fuel. Refueling food.
And then at the end of the game, all the Scunthorpe fans did a silent protest, although they're not sure whether the players heard it or not.
I love these things because I still remember the first time I saw a walk through McDonald's outside Blackburn Rovers ground. I've just found it highly amusing. Isn't
that just a McDonald's?
No, they actually had the drive-through was closed, and they actually done it as a walk-through. I did. Yeah, Blackburn, weird place. Yeah. Anyway, digressed.
Yeah, we have. Right. Well, we hope we've cheered you up anyway on this week's show. Unfortunately, it's going to come crashing back down to earth when we host Southend on Saturday, which again, much like last week, is on paper a good opponent to have. I know we lost against Doncaster, ignore that. But Southend are not in great form. They lost last week to Blackpool at home. They lost 2-1. I think they've lost 4 of their last 5. Oh, God, this is almost exactly like Doncaster were.
Lost the last 3.
Lost the last 3. Oh, man.
But they did lose 3-0 at Sunderland and 1-0 at Barnsley, so you could argue they're probably 2 of the stronger teams in the league.
Possibly. But on paper, they're not we're at home, so it's not the worst game. There's potential to end our long losing league run, especially as their centre-half Michael Turner is suspended after he was sent off last week.
Yeah, straight red, wasn't it?
It was. So, I don't want to... can't be asked. Just prediction.
I don't know what to predict because...
Scoreline, Stu, scoreline.
Because I'm not going to say a draw because we haven't drawn in 15 games.
So we're due one.
So we've been due a draw for a little while. I don't want to say a defeat because that sounds like I'm a defeatist.
The sound bites from this show alone.
1-1 draw. 1-1 draw.
1-1. You know what? I'll agree. I think it's
a 1-1 draw.
We'll go for a draw.
How is it bad that I stumble on a score line? I can't predict a score because I know that it's probably going to be a defeat.
Maybe this is the week where Liam Trotter becomes Superman and scores a hat-trick and is all-action hero like Bruce Willis in Die Hard, and like everything comes together and it's all wonderful just for one weekend. Even I'll be happy.
And then you woke up.
Yeah, probably. Although, to be honest with you, if I'm dreaming about Liam Trotter scoring goals for us, I've got serious issues. So I am on new medication at the moment.
The only thing I'm looking at, right, is I know we've not won in 8, we've had 8 straight defeats and there's loads of stats you can chuck off. But it is coming up to Christmas. So isn't like Christmas the time of goodwill to people and stuff like that? So surely we'll win a game before Christmas, won't we?
Stu, if we don't win a game before Christmas, my word, we'd be officially the worst team ever.
Well, we haven't won for 2 months. Our last win was on our last league win. I'm not counting cup competitions. Our last league win was on the 29th of September.
It was the last time Joe Pickett scored a goal as well.
So let's be fair. We haven't. We're getting close to 2 months. We haven't won a game. So it's not unreasonable. It's not unrealistic. Was Christmas 5 weeks away? Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So anyway, look, positive thoughts. We'll win a game sometime.
Don't know where. Don't know when. But I know we'll win again some wintry, showery November day. Or December day, who knows? Hopefully November. Anyway. Jeez. Right. Well, let's sign off with some happy things. Music quiz. I need to find out who got this correct. So if you recognise the tune that kicked us off on a rather cheery note this week, then please do tweet us at 9YRS Podcast. Last week, we got quite a lot of praise for Don't Speak by No Doubt. A classic. Oh, I miss Neil Ardley so much, Stu. I look at that list of names to come in as a replacement. I'm like, oh, just none of them. I look at them, I just kind of shrug my shoulders and go, yeah. Anyway. Lots of people. So Mark Hendricks, Mark at CIFF, No Doubt Don't Speak. Great choice. Thank you very much. M Sturgy Boy at Dog with a Bone. Stuart Rolfe at Aldo Grolf. Don't Speak by No Doubt, which some of our fans, Ards in and Ards out, could learn a lesson from. Hashtag fans club, hash club, hashtag stand together. Baylor Hahn. Sorry, I think I said Bella in previous weeks. She correctly went for Don't Speak by No Doubt at Baylor Hahn 1. Baylor as in Layla, who was, of course, former WWE diva. Terry Westgate at Terry Westgate. Great episode, nice tribute to Ardley. Thank you very much. Might need a new game for next week. Well, hopefully it was better this week, Terry.
Yeah.
And finally, Lee Rumbelow. Just got to the end and a fitting tribute to our former manager and his sidekick. Opening song was Don't Speak by No Doubt, and the closing song was Only You by Yazoo, because I miss Neil. Ladies team. Big Women's FA Cup win on penalties against the London Lionesses. 4-3 on penalties. Fantastic victory. They have been drawn against Portsmouth. We are hosting Portsmouth on the 2nd of December, so same weekend as our second round FA Cup tie. We're at home to Portsmouth, who are in the league above us, but struggling a little bit. So hopefully, if you can't make Halifax or Morecambe away, and let's be fair, that's a big ask for a 12:30 kickoff on a Saturday, especially as the team are as rubbish as we are right now, then get down to the ladies on Sunday instead.
Definitely.
Go down and support the ladies team. So we'll remind you on social media all about that, but they are certainly one Wimbledon team that deserves our support right now. Absolutely. I think that's about it, Stu. Do we have anything to add? I think we said our piece, haven't we, for 1 week, for this week?
I think that's done. And hopefully by the time we come out of next week's podcast, we should have a new manager in place.
Exciting times.
I can tell the excitement is overwhelming.
It is. Do you know who was interviewed about a manager who ruled himself out of it? Was Stuart Castledine. He was on Love Sport Radio in the week last week, I think. And they were just chatting to him about it, and he obviously said he was referencing some of the great players that he came through with the academy with and what have you and things like that. But he's definitely not in the running for the manager's job, Stu. And do you know what? That's why we can't have the mum. Updates. Finally got it in. It's like November. Finally did it. Right. Updates from Southend will be on Twitter at 9YRS Podcast. This week, the AFC Wimbledon Business Club, they will be making recycled handbags with former Leicester City centre-half Spencer Pryor. And Lee's on the show, isn't he, this Sunday radio show?
I would ask him. Yeah, I'm sure he will be.
Okay. We at the time of going to press, Lee Finch will be on Love Sport Radio this Sunday. Thank you very much for joining me, Stu.
No problem. Thanks for joining. So I'm just laughing. Scotland just conceded a penalty. Sorry, I do apologise. I'm just laughing away. Yes, thanks for having me.
Anytime. Unfortunately, we've got listeners that are trying to get rid of you, so they are silently protesting. Unfortunately, we can't hear them. At least I don't think we can hear them. Alexa Bliss, bag first, milk last. We will speak to you again next week.
I got a man with 2 left feet, and when he dances not to the beat, I really think that he should know that his rhythms go, go, go. I got a man with 2 left feet, and when he dances not to the beat, I really think that he should know that his rhythms go, go, go. Does he wash up? Never wash up. Does he clean up? No, he never cleans up. Does he brush up? Never brushed up. He does nothing. The boy does nothing. Wash up. He never wash up. Does he clean up? No, he never cleans up. Does he brush up? Never brushed up. He does nothing. The boy does nothing. Hey boy, how you been? I got 1,000 lines. Where do I begin? And I've been here, been there, traveling. I saw you at the corner. My vibe kicked.
Well, I was listening to a song and I liked Polaroid. I quite like that.
I've not heard that.
But then when I realised the guy from One Direction was in it, I was like, oh, I don't know if I like that now.
Probably not. Although,
So,
you say it was called Polaroid.
yes.
It's quite a snappy tune.
Instant.
Oh, very good.
Success.
There you go. Oh dear.
Yeah, stop.